Welcome back to the Business Lounge podcast. I'm your host, Kimberly Ann Jimenez, and in this episode, we're going to talk about how to ditch procrastination, kick that guy to the curb, and stay consistent with your content this year. We're literally sharing 7 power tips to make sure that you're crushing it. And this is actually part 2 of this episode. So make sure to hit the pause button if you haven't already listened or watched the first one. They're going to be linked in the description box below, and check it out. Welcome back, loungers. I'm so excited to be here with you today. On the previous episode, we talked all about the first 4 power tips when it comes to ditching procrastination and just being consistent with your content, because that's what it's all about. If we really want to grow, if we want to get to the next level, if we want to attract an audience of buyers, not just freebie seekers, and just double down on our content, which is honestly probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, opportunity in entrepreneurship of this era, we really need to stay consistent. And one of the easiest ways of doing that is having a plan, right? Just having some kind of strategy that you can totally pull out of your tool bag when it comes to staying consistent. And when maybe those feelings of procrastination or, being in a rut kind of settle in, doing something about it, knowing how to handle it is so important, because I got news for you. No matter how much you achieve in your business, no matter how successful you become, there will always be some kind of area in your, in your life or in your business that you need to keep improving on. That's why it's so important to have the skills to deal with those situations, because they really don't go away. One of the biggest, concerns that I hear both from beginners and superstar creators is being consistent. It's always a struggle to stay on top of content if you don't have the strategies in place to make that process easier. And even when you do, we all go through ups and downs. We all have to stay inspired and stay motivated to continue creating content, serving people at the highest level, and just showing up for our tribes, right? Really making a difference in the world. That's really what it's all about. And so as we're preparing for the new year, I wanted you to have all the tools in your tool stack that you need. And I think that we really covered it with these 7 power tips. We talked about in the previous episode about negotiating with yourself, right? And using a scientific approach to shift out that stress response that you get when you're procrastinating and just start, right? Get started with whatever strategy, whatever task you need to implement to get your content out, like ship that baby, right? We also talked about planning ahead, having a content calendar, having some kind of content bank, a structure of how you're going to be creating your content systematically instead of just willy-nilly or, kind of just putting something out the day of or the night before, kind of scrambling to figure out what you're going to post about. That's unnecessary. It's too much stress, especially if you're playing at a high level. You're maybe in the breakthrough or the profit stage of your business and you're wanting to scale up. You really can't, put things together overnight. And of course, there's things that will come up and life will come, get in the way, but we're really just creating these strategies to prevent all of that from happening. And when life does get in the way, that you have something in advance that you can put out. It doesn't have to be something you have to create every single week. So important. And then we also talked about creating content in series, right? Learning how to put out different types of episodes that kind of coincide with each other, right? That lead your viewers, your audience, your tribe into this sequential consumption sort of mechanism, right? And it's such a beautiful thing that you get to kind of take people a little bit deeper instead of going wide, let's go kind of deep and unpack different aspects of whatever it is you're teaching them, right? Whatever it is you're educating them or entertaining them on, breaking that down into bite-sized chunks is so much more compelling. It's easier for you to create and it's easier for them to consume. So it's a win-win all around. Really important. And then we also talked about pacing yourself, right? The importance of realizing that you can't sprint a marathon, in the words of Ryan Holmes. You got to make sure that you're pacing yourself, because there's no point in sprinting the minute, right? You kind of hear the the buzzer go off because you're running a marathon. This isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. If you've ever seen marathon, what do you call those people? Marathoners? Is that a word? You gotta excuse the Hispanic because I don't know if that's a real word or how you call it, but people who run marathons don't typically dart off running full speed the second the buzzer goes off, right? They start finding their pace immediately because they know that it's all about longevity. It's all about, really endurance. Being able to cross that finish line isn't about running faster than anyone else. It's about, being able to maintain a faster pace than anyone else for a longer period of time. And that's so smart and so important for us to remember as we're running our own marathon in this content creation world, right? In this journey of entrepreneurship. And I want to make sure that you have a marathoner's, if that's a word, perspective when it comes to creating content, pacing yourself, finding the frequency that makes sense for the time and the resources that you have available right now, instead of just trying to go at it full force, putting out a ton of content and then just completely burning out. That doesn't help anyone. It doesn't help your tribe. It doesn't help you gain momentum or actually accomplish anything with your content. It's only going to potentially even set you back emotionally and mentally because then you feel like you're never getting ahead, right? It's this perpetual vicious cycle of trying to move forward and then doing it really fast because you feel like you have all this amped up energy and then kind of falling completely off the map with it. So want to make sure that we're staying consistent and that we're running the race because at the end of the day, the turtle wins the race. Like I hate to use that tired metaphor, but it's true. And so in this episode, I just wanted, now that we've kind of quickly recapped all of that, I wanted to talk about the last 3 power tips, right? Those 3 additional tools in your toolbox that you're going to pull out as you're coming up with your content this new year, as you're coming up with your strategy, as you're training yourself to be a better content creator, a more refined marketer, right? And a more successful entrepreneur, because that's really what we're all after. It's figuring out how we can get our message out there, how we can become more visible, how we can get our content discovered, and how we can do it without feeling like, it's a perpetual full-time job. So I wanted to talk about the importance of organizing yourself in every other area of your business and your life, and how that's power tip number 5. And it's so critical to internalize the power of organization. Now, planning and organization go hand in hand, but they are very different. And one of the things that I want to make sure that you're ticking off your to-dos, if you haven't already, and so you would be surprised at how many rock star entrepreneurs I coach and mentor and talk to, who are my peers in many ways, don't have a solid workflow in their company, right? Like they are just, and I don't want to knock people who use yellow notepads because I've used yellow notepads. It's nothing against that format. It's just the idea that that's as far as your productivity workflow kind of functions. It's just writing everything down on a notepad. And if that works for you, awesome. But most people, that isn't enough, right? Especially in this world we live in that's practically all digital. And I use paper. I'm not knocking paper. I love using my full focus planner. If you've been around on the YouTube channel, you know how much I love that planner, and we'll unpack that a little bit later here on the podcast as well. But I want to make sure that you have some sort of workflow, a system, right? You plan your to-dos on a weekly, monthly, quarterly, and daily basis, right? That's literally how I plan my entire business. Is how I run my entire company. And then we have a digital tool where we collaborate with our team. When there's a larger project that requires more than one step, we love using Trello to organize everything in our business. And that extends into our lives as well. So I have planned my whole wedding on Trello. I've literally planned my grocery list. I plan everything I'm going to purchase. I plan the meals that I'm going to prepare. So kind of having a system to organize your life and to really just be productive without losing your sanity is key. If you think about it, right? When we have a chaotic life, we have a chaotic business. Our business is a reflection of who we are in so many different ways. And if our life is chaotic, our business will be chaotic. And I don't want that for you. I want to make sure that you have clarity and the time and the space that you need in order to create amazing content, get in and get out, ship that baby, and then move on to the more important things in your business that need to get taken care of if you're going to move forward. Because as much as I love content creation, it's very difficult to monetize your content directly. I think there's a ceiling on that. And overall, we're entrepreneurs. Like, we have to run businesses. There's so many other things that we need to take care of. And so I want you to spend only the amount of time that's required to put out amazing content. No more and no less. Let's move on. And that can only happen if you actually have your itch together in your business, right? If you have a workflow, a way of creating, projects and meeting deadlines and setting goals and staying on track with whatever it is that you're creating in your brand and your company. And that same exact strategy and methodology dips into your personal life. So one of the things that I found really helpful, actually, about, 5 years ago. Wow. Oof, time flies. I was in a workshop for entrepreneurs with one of my friends, and they were hosting this awesome workshop. It's all about mindset and tools to kind of shift your mindset, shift your perspective as an entrepreneur. And I remember that I was chatting with my friend after the workshop, and he was basically asking me what were the biggest obstacles for me. And I just told him I just didn't feel like I had enough time. I felt like from the minute, my feet hit the floor in the morning until I kind of just decided to go to bed, my laptop would pretty much be on the whole time. I was working the entire time and it just felt exhausting. So he had me go through my entire routine and figure out where am I spending time outside of the business where I feel like, it's either a waste of time or I could be optimizing that time. And it got to the point where I was almost in tears telling him how frustrated I was, because I come from a family where women, we cook every meal. And at the time, I was just like, oh my gosh, I'd just gotten married and I was making dinner every single night. My mom, Lord bless her soul, she is a saint. She cooks lunch and dinner from scratch for my dad every single day, every day. And I felt like I had to live to those expectations. And I was running myself ragged, coming up with new recipes. And it would, by the time I cooked the meal, served the meal, and cleaned up, an hour and a half had gone by. And it's just been a struggle for my entire career of just trying to figure out how to balance not just cooking, but everything else you have to do in the house, right? And then be a good wife and be, a good daughter and be a good friend and someday be a good mom. And it just overwhelmed me to the point of I don't know how I will ever be able to start a family because I don't have time to cook for one other person, let alone, for a child. It was overwhelming. And so I remember, him asking me to brainstorm some ideas, and I kind of tried, but didn't really stick until about, I would say 9 months ago. One of our members in the business lounge, her name's Coach Hannah, we were chatting and she was telling me about, the importance of meal prepping and how that could save me a lot of time. And I was like, oh my gosh, do I really want to do this? It sounds like a lot of work, but let's try it out. Wow, what a difference. I mean, at first I didn't really get it very well. It took me 3-4 hours to batch the meals for the week, but now I can't go back. I mean, seriously, guys, it's that important. My Sunday afternoons are for batching our meals, and I do it, over an hour and a half, and I'm done. I'm totally done with lunch and dinner for the whole week for Chris and I don't have to think about it. And a couple of days ago, I was just wanted to eat something specific, and so I decided to cook, a meal from scratch, and it was so much work. I was like, why did I think this was a good idea? Nobody has time for that. You really just have to plan around it, right? So those are things that can really make a huge difference in your entire workflow, into your entire life. What in your business could be completed in a more effective way, and then what in your personal life can be taken off your plate if you just maybe batch it, or you hire it out, or you ask a friend or a family member or a spouse or a partner to help you with it. It can make such a big difference just by having the one thing removed from your plate will allow you to be way more focused, right? In other areas that are important for you to grow and continue to position yourself as the expert, the go-to person in your company. So just a little example of how you could be creating amazing strategies to just have more time and white space. All right, so the next kind of tip that I have for you under this category is to theme out your days. And this is something I've been doing the past couple of months, and it's worked so well for me. So being able to say, okay, today is going to be the day where I'm going to, and listen, we all have a billion different things that we have to do every single day, right? There's kind of standard things that I do every single day. I check in with my team every single day. I answer questions in our forum and our Facebook group every single day. I have to remember to do Instagram stories every day. Those are kind of 3 things that I have to do. Check my email, right? Like forward any tickets that need to be forwarded to our support team and answer anything that needs to be answered on my side. So those are things that are recurring in my to-do list. But then there's things, usually there's 3 things that I have to get done. Those are my priorities. And the last couple of months, I've been actually shifting to one thing. And, bear with me here. What I mean by that is there is one specific task that I batch out that day. So it could be, this is going to be podcast recording day, and I will record 4 different episodes that day. Or it'll be a whole week depending on, the actual length of the task. So maybe the whole week I will be batching all of the content for the YouTube channel, for our Instagram account, for our podcast. And that's what I do the entire week. And my team will tell you, I'm in my girl cave, literally filming, and this is actually our batch week, filming all of our content for the next 3 months. And that's what I do that one week. But individual days, that can work too for smaller tasks. So maybe that day I'm batching all of my newsletters for the month, or I'm batching all of my content for the business lounge, our weekly content, or I'm mapping out our entire outline for an upcoming course. Those are things that you could totally implement into your business. They're little hacks, they're little tiny tweaks that make a huge difference. For me, it put off all the pressure of having to do a bunch of little things and helped me focus on big things that'll move the needle in our company instead of distract me from our main goal and our main purpose. So start thinking about themes, maybe your weeks, or you can theme out your month, or theme out your day and say, today I'm going to take all the thumbnail pictures for our videos, or I'm going to grab 4 different outfits and I'm going to have my own Instagram photo shoot, and I'm going to do all of that in one day. Or I'm going to say, today is the day for me to meal prep, and I'm going to just prepare all the meals for the next week. Theme out your days and start being more productive, hyper batching one individual task. It'll do wonders for your productivity and for your focus and your mental sanity, because it just takes off the pressure of having to multitask, right? Or kind of juggle multiple things in one day, which is very counterproductive. So just something to think about. All right, so next power tip is all about creating a strategy. And I want to walk you through a couple questions that you should be asking yourself. Now, we released our Napkin content strategy over on the YouTube channel. So if you haven't had a chance to check that out, definitely do. I will link that video in the description box below so you can check it out. It has an entire template that you can totally download. I actually think I have it around here. If I can show you it, that'd be awesome. Ooh. Actually, I do. It's right here. Beautiful. All right, so this is the Napkin content strategy. If you're, of course, listening, you can't see it, but it'll walk you through a one-page document of exactly how to fill out your entire strategy for the new year. And there's several questions here that are really helpful, but I had some additional ones that you can layer on. Now, the Napkin content strategy is all about your big picture content creation strategy, what platforms you're going to be publishing in, what are your KPIs going to look like, what is your overall strategy, what's your frequency, how are you going to turn your macro content into micro content. And if you're a lounger, that has been in the community for the past 10 months. So we released that 10 months ago. In the beginning of the year, we're super hyper focused on getting your entire business strategy and your vision clear. And that was part of our Prosperous New Year plan, which we do every single year as a collective on January. We have this entire business workshop designed to help you focus on what your strategy is going to be for the new year. So definitely check that out if you're a lounger. And we also made it available for free for our community this when this episode goes out, it'll be probably 2 weeks. So check that out. It'll be linked in the description box below, or you can also check it out at KimberlyAnnJimenez.com/napkin. So KimberlyAnnJimenez.com/napkin. Super easy. All right, so let's talk about a few of the kind of questions that you need to be asking yourself as you are creating your content strategy. And the first one is, of course, what kind of content are you going to be creating this year? Is there anything that you need to tweak or reassess? And why? Why are you going to be creating that content? Is that medium still, right, the perfect channel for your company, for your brand? And then kind of moving into how are your customers going to discover that content, right? What is your discoverability plan? If you are creating a blog, then your discoverability maybe is doing SEO or layering on Pinterest, right? The search engines, so your content can get discovered. If you're doing YouTube, maybe it's really optimizing your keywords so that your videos actually rank and doing that research before you publish your content. What is that discoverability plan and how are you going to deploy it? And the next question is all about different tactics to grow that channel, right? So what's going to be your growth strategy? Are you going to collaborate with other brands? Are you going to make sure that you are running Facebook ads or running Instagram ads, right? Are you going to put out amazing content and then have, other people promote it for you, like maybe on an Instagram pod or kind of just a group of your own peers who kind of support each other and share it to their audiences? How are you going to get that content discovered so more people can follow you? You need to have a following or a growth strategy plan as well. And it doesn't have to be complicated. It's literally just, maybe a sentence or two of what you're going to be doing. And so having those strategies can totally help out. Having it mapped out, having it in a basic document that you can reference and have handy can make all the difference. All right, so kind of layering that on with your brand strategy and thinking strategically about who you are in the marketplace and how you're going to position yourself in this new year as it pertains to your overall content strategy can make a big difference too. So kind of backtracking and looking at your brand overall and saying, okay, this is who we are in the marketplace, right? Are you going to be the Walmart or the Target of your niche? Are you, so to speak, are you going to position yourself as like, a very entry-level service, or are you going to be like the white glove, done for you, luxe, premium service? Are you going to have, a multitude of products, or are you going to focus on one main offering? And that's going to be like the star of the show. All of those questions are really important to ask yourself because your positioning is so important, especially when it comes to your content. Making sure that your content and the voice that you have and your brand matches, right, the overall perception that people have is really, really important. And sometimes you want to change that perception. Maybe you want to evolve. Maybe you want to kind of transition into the new version of what your business needs to become in the new year. Those are all questions that are really important to ask yourself as you're creating your content strategy, because really it comes down to having a lot of congruence, right? Making sure that every other aspect of your business is congruent to the type of voice that you have via your content, the level of, value that you offer, the way that you speak and communicate to your audience. All those things make a big impact, and most of us are not really thinking about those small details that can make a big difference. All right, and next we're talking about the sales strategy. Of course, we need to learn how to monetize our content. You need to learn how you're going to be turning your fans and followers into paying customers and what that customer journey looks like. What are those touch points? How do people find you? And then decide that you're the right fit, right? Do they maybe pay you online? Maybe do they reach out for a consultation first? Are they having to sign up for a webinar because they need a little bit more warming up, or a free workshop or a free class before they're ready to buy? What does that sales cycle look like for your business? Really important. And lastly, what do your conversion metrics need to look like? What are some of those KPIs, key performance indicators, that'll tell you if you're doing a good job or you need to reassess? So key, so important. We'll have a space for that last question in the Napkin content strategy, so definitely check that out. Now, the last power tip I have for you is very cool and simple, but something that most of us don't remember, and that is don't expect to be perfect. Don't expect to be perfect. Even the best creators, even the most successful entrepreneurs have setbacks. Life happens, situations that we can't control get in the way, or we just fall off, kind of the path, and that's okay. It's not about kind of being hard on yourself or kind of falling into this guilt trip. It's really about course correcting and getting back on track. I tell my members all the time that if you're feeling frustration, if you're feeling defeat, if you're feeling a sense of just, kind of pointlessness and having feelings of just wanting to give up, that's totally okay. I'm giving you permission to feel all the feels and just let yourself kind of have that emotion, but don't unpack and live there, right? Do not start pulling out your luggage and setting up shop in that negative space. I want you to feel the feelings, let it happen, but give yourself a timer. And I always tell them, it's so funny, but it's so true. Give yourself an hour. Cry if you need to, get angry, get frustrated, pout, feel sorry for yourself, and then get back up there. Just get back on track. Figure out a way to really find that place where you can thrive and stay consistent and, just kind of get back on the game. It's not about just feeling totally demotivated and kind of falling into this guilt trip. It's about tapping into, that power that you have, putting on your putting on your big girl pants on or your big boy pants on and just getting back out there, right? Giving it another go, starting anew, starting fresh and going for it, especially if you've kind of had a lull or you've fallen off kind of the wagon because of a billion different reasons. It doesn't matter. There's always a chance to get back on track. It's a matter of figuring out how you're going to be better this next time and really just striving for progress instead of striving for perfection, because there is no such thing as perfection. And although it's important that we're constantly improving ourselves and improving, our workflows and our systems and how we run our business and our brand overall, it's also really, really smart to have realistic expectations and know that things are going to happen and life is going to get in the way, and that's fine. If we can predict when that's going to happen and know how we're going to deal with it when it does, that can make all the difference in the world. So guys, I hope that you enjoyed these last 3 power tips. I hope that they were helpful, and I hope that they'll serve as a permanent position in your toolbox as you head into the new year and create your own content strategy. Now, you know that we can't close the episode without the question of the day. I would love to hear from you, and if you're listening on the pod, you know what to do. Come over to the Instagram and share with me your thoughts. If you are watching this on Facebook or YouTube, I'd love to hear from you. Let me know in the comment section below. What is one way, right? All of these 7 out of these 7 power tips, what's one of those tips that you're going to be implementing into your own content strategy, that you're doubling down, that you're committing on, that you are drawing that line in the sand and saying, boom, I'm going to do this, rain or shine, non-negotiable. I'm going to implement this new year, and I'm going to stay consistent and motivated to keep producing amazing content, showing up for my people, and serving in bigger ways. Let me know in the comment section below. I would love to hear from you. And of course, if you haven't subscribed already, whether it's on the podcast or on YouTube, please do. You'll never miss out on another episode. And of course, share it with a friend. I'd love to add even more awesome peeps into our tribe of online entrepreneurs who are serious and crushing it and committed to growing online. So I love you so much for watching, especially if you watched or listened all the way through. I will catch you in the next episode. Un beso. Bye for now.
I feel the warmth of your skin. I feel the touch of your hand. Love you with all of my heart. Makes me tremble within.